That is certainly true. I just saw, I think, a tweet from you, Donna, about you asking, is there an enthusiasm gap among Republicans this year? Do you think there is?
Oh, absolutely. Turnout was down, 15% in Florida, 25% in the Nevada race just recently. You know, one of the things that the Republicans thought they had going for them this year was that turnout would be higher because of all of the candidates, all of the debate, all of the money, et cetera. But what we've seen over the last few weeks is that turnout is actually low. And this has to worry Republicans because several of these states are battleground states in the fall.
Does it worry you, Ari?
Well, I think it's something you have to keep your eye on. It could be worrisome. I mean, it initially began with Iowa was record-breaking, New Hampshire was record-breaking, South Carolina record-breaking. Florida is unique because there was a ballot initiative 4 years ago that really brought people out. 400,000 more people voted in the ballot initiative than in the presidential contest. But Nevada was a drop, so it's something to keep an eye on. You know, I've said this before. I still think the unifying event for Republicans is going to be the desire to beat Barack Obama. Mitt Romney has a problem with the base. A lot of conservatives don't trust or believe in Mitt Romney, and that could depress turnout. The other issue, though, is what really brings people out, and we saw it in the Obama-Hillary race, is if people think it's such a close race, who knows who's going to win? That's one of the reasons South Carolina was like that. To the degree people think Mitt Romney's got this sewed up, it depresses turnout because there's not a close contest.
You know, I think there is to some degree a lack of enthusiasm, which is suppressing it, but there's also this going into the season, there was an air of inevitability for a lot of people, so a lot of people just decided not to go out. I would disagree, though, and I hate to sound like a broken record on this one, but in Iowa, you take out the independents who came in just for Ron Paul. It actually wasn't a record-breaking turnout in Iowa, and in fact, I think one of the things that has got to have Republicans worried, and I know it does, I've talked to some who are very worried about it, is you look at South Carolina, you look at Florida, you look at Nevada, you look at Iowa, the counties that had lower turnout, Mitt Romney won, but the counties that had higher turnout, Mitt Romney lost.
I want to bring in Jessica Yellen, who also, the White House correspondent, who also covered the Clinton-Obama race. Do you see a difference in enthusiasm, Jessica?
Well, I mean, there's no question. I mean, the type of enthusiasm you saw between Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama is unprecedented, I think, in modern history. There was this intensity that it's hard to rival that, Anderson. I mean, I wasn't home for 4 months for a stretch at one period just covering them. But it's also something in this instance that the Obama campaign is pointing to, which is what Erick Erickson just said, that it's in the states where Mitt Romney is winning that the turnout is the lowest. And this was a season when Republicans were saying they were so excited, their base was so excited to defeat Barack Obama that there was going to be a massive turnout. And so there, should be some concern on the Republican side that there is not the kind of turnout that they were expecting.
What about concern by the White House about a lack of enthusiasm among Democrats? I mean, there were a lot of first-time voters, a lot of people brought to the polls voting for then candidate Obama, who hadn't voted necessarily before, hadn't been as involved. Do they feel that same enthusiasm exists?
They're doing everything in their power to get those people re-engaged. I mean, have you noticed all the We Can't Wait initiatives they've rolled out in the past few weeks? There's an initiative to get summer internships paid for college kids who are just entering the workforce. Do you think that might energize the youth vote? There's a bunch of contraceptive measures that are getting a lot of attention. You think that might be designed to energize the women's vote? I mean, I don't think any of this has been lost. The fear that these special interest groups might be demoralized is not lost on the Obama team, and they're finding ways to re-engage them, Anderson, looking ahead. But the bottom line for the Obama side is they think as soon as there's a nominee, that will lock in the enthusiasm. It's what each side says about the other.
We've heard a lot about super PACs on the Republican side, though. News today, though, about a super PAC supporting President Obama and his decision to send folks out to basically encourage people to raise money for this super PAC. Were you surprised to hear that?
Well, I'm sure they were alarmed by the tremendous amount of money that the Republicans are raising, the amount of money that Mitt Romney spent. And look, I'm sure they looked up and saw the negative ads against Gingrich down in Florida.
Is it hypocritical of the president to be supporting this?
Look, he had to make a decision. They had to make a fundamental decision. Do you go into a race with all of the super PACs, stacked up against you, and, your little super PAC out there just, trying to raise a few crumbs, and you have all these nonprofit groups that will not disclose their contributors, also raising money against you.
Are you afraid that the president's super PAC's only going to raise a few crumbs?
Look, I'm not out there raising money. I'm up here with these young men.
Isn't it who thought the president wasn't going to say, go to the super PACs? I've been on TV for a year with Paul Begala saying he was helping a super PAC that was going to help Obama. Whether he said it officially or not, everyone knew the Democrats were going to do exactly what the Republicans were going to do.
But keep in mind, he made a mistake in 2008 when he said we're not taking lobbyist money, when he also said don't give money to outside groups. Democrats said, okay, fine, we're going to go your way with this one. What happens in 2010? They got their butt kicked when it came to raising money. Major Democratic donors said, look, we can take the gloves off. You want to be a purist? We can't play this game. To answer your question, is it hypocritical? Yes. He'll get tagged on it. Did he have to suck it up and do it? Absolutely. Why? Because you cannot lose an arms race. You don't want to go to November and say, hey, I was a purist. I held to myself. Democrats are saying, no, we got to play to win.
You know, the truth of the matter was that the Democratic super PACs weren't raising a lot of money, that Barack Obama's super PAC, correct me if I'm wrong, Donna?
They didn't have the blessing of the president.
Exactly. Okay, so they were sort of out there in the wilderness, and they had to get the blessing of the president, which, of course, they got, because you see the kind of money that the Republican super PACs are raising. Now, it's interesting because the Republicans are raising an awful lot of money. They don't have the large turnout to show for it, but they're raising an awful lot of money. The super PACs are doing the negative advertising, which a lot of people would think could actually suppress voter turnout. Now, one thing about turnout, Newt Gingrich, it's his calling card. He came on TV, I believe it was Saturday night, and accused Mitt Romney of suppressing voter turnout, because he said everywhere he won, he suppressed voter turnout. South Carolina, Newt Gingrich won.
David?
Turnout was up 35%.
Okay, look, let's go back. This enthusiasm issue does matter. In 2006 and 2008, the Democrats were hungrier than Republicans, and they won both elections. In 2010, it was the Republicans who were hungrier. So watching this turnout tonight does matter. I think the difference, though, has been in the first 3 states that voted out of the 5, independents could vote, and turnout was up in all 3 states. In the last 2 states, in Florida and Nevada, it was Republicans only, and turnout was down. That is a sign that Republicans are watching with some distress.
So who's hungrier, though, this year?
Right now, the Republicans thought that their voters would be hungrier. They've been counting on that, and that gave them advantage going into this. It's one more of the Republican advantages. It's now more clouded or more threatened.
Although, do you think, Eric, to your point, in a general election, when the focus is President Obama, that's where the hunger comes from?
I think there will be some. It's very difficult to sustain hunger against someone. You've got to have hunger for something.
Absolutely.
But as well, you do have the Supreme Court with the Obamacare decision coming this summer. If it goes against the way conservatives hope it'll go, if Anthony Kennedy sides with the liberals on the court, suddenly you're going to see an impassioned Republican base like we haven't seen in a very long time.
And if they side with the president on that, the left will be absolutely energized.
Yeah, but what if Chief Justice Roberts goes with the majority and says it's constitutional? That is possible.
There's another bigger issue here, too. You have a president who had a 70% job approval on Inauguration Day who's now in the mid-40s. The Democrat base has lost a huge amount of enthusiasm. The turnout, Jessica was alluding to this point, the massive turnout of 2008 is not going to happen again.
I think I'm the only person that can speak on this stage about turnout in a presidential race. And let me tell you,
I don't think you're the only one who can talk about that.
We got more votes.
It's called Trump card.
Don't do that. Please don't do that. I'm trying not to
Electoral college.
Well, Supreme Court's decided that one too. I don't want to get back into my 40s.
That's to be discussed over some drinks, I think,
please,
later.
Lots of them.
Martini and wine.
But you know, I talked about Newt Gingrich's trust problem. Mitt Romney has a trust problem with conservative voters. He needs people like Eric, and Eric, forgive me for saying people like Eric. I'm talking about he needs campaign people who are enthusiastic, who will go door to door and not just say, vote against Obama, vote against America, vote against job creation, vote against all of the things that this president has done over the last 3 years. He needs people who are apostles for him and not just against Obama. And that's where Mitt Romney is having a little bit of difficulty at this hour. We'll see what happens later.
Campaign for dog catcher running against someone. You have to run for something. It doesn't matter whether it's municipal, state, or federal. You've got to run for something.
In virtually every poll, he's running almost neck and neck with President Obama.
Not
this
recently.
week, the president has opened up a little bit more of a gap, but for months he has. So you can't dismiss the argument that Mitt Romney, even with his problems on the right, which are legit, doesn't have an appeal that gets him virtually even with Barack Obama.
I think, and if the economy improves, Mitt Romney's sole rationale thus far has been, I'm the fixer for the economy. If the economy fixes without Mitt Romney, why do you need him? He needs something else.
And we'll see how all that plays out tonight for Governor Romney and for all the other candidates. Well,